Sometimes, when certain people are confronted with the consequences of capitalism, they try to spin it in a way that puts the responsibility of capitalism's crises and faults onto the notion of corporatism or crony capitalism.
It's because every time you guys try to point out a flaw with capitalism, you guys always point out a flaw of government instead. For example, every time you guys try to do a death toll of capitalism, you always include government's wars. What the hell does a government war have to do with capitalism? But you blame it on capitalism. That's what you guys always do. Everything the government screws up, you blame it on capitalism. That's not the fault of capitalism. So sometimes we need to remind you what capitalism freaking is, because you dumbasses don't know. Let me put it this way. What does capitalism and the free market mean? Free market means free from government regulation. But every time you try to look for something that demonstrates capitalism, you always point at the United States or Canada and say that that's capitalism, when it's obviously a regulated market, a heavily regulated one. If it's a regulated market, then guess what? It's not a free market. That's corporatism. That's crony capitalism. That has nothing to do with real capitalism because it's not a free market. It's a regulated one. They are opposites.
This is a very flawed and frankly dishonest position to have, as I will illustrate. This sort of argument is primarily centered on two things. First of all, a continuum fallacy, and second of all, idealistic notions divorced from actual material conditions. Let's say that X is capitalism and Y is corporatism. There is no definable point where X, capitalism, becomes Y, corporatism. Therefore, there is no difference between X and Y. Basically, the argument fails to answer or even consider at what point does capitalism become corporatism.
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
There, he said it himself. He thinks capitalism and the government are the same fucking thing. This guy's a goddamn moron. You should not listen to him. Capitalism and corporatism couldn't be further apart. The difference between the two is one is voluntary, the other is involuntary. They are separate systems. They are opposites. But you are saying they are the same. You are retarded.
What percentage of government-granted monopolies and bailouts, subsidies, and corporate lobbying must exist to turn an economy from capitalist to corporatist? Is it 49%, 51%, 35%, 1%? What characteristics of capitalism fundamentally change during this transformation from capitalism to corporatism? How are they fundamentally different?
Okay, imagine you have a free market, right? Capitalism. It's a free market, as in free from government regulations. Now, let's say you start to regulate it. You regulate it 1%. Well, now it's a regulated market, not a free market. It's corporatism now. It's no longer capitalism at that point. Any regulation destroys capitalism. Any regulation. It's very simple. Either it's anarcho-capitalism or it's corporatism. Again, free market means free from government regulations. If it's freaking regulated, it's not capitalism.
Even if you were to somehow bring capitalism more than a century back, when free competition did reign, you'd only be prolonging the inevitable. That is, the formation of monopolies, a natural trend of capitalist development.
Only government could create monopolies, okay? Monopolies are not a capitalistic trait. See, again, you're blaming shit on capitalism when it's government's fault. Okay, imagine we're in Ancapistan, right? And there's no freaking government regulations whatsoever. And, okay, you have a fidget spinner company. Okay, imagine I create a smaller fidget spinner company and I'm going to steal your monopoly. What are you going to do about it? There isn't a goddamn thing you can do about it. There's no government to buy or lobby to push me out of business. You also can't get a patent to push me out of business. There's not a goddamn thing you could do to prevent me from stealing your monopoly as a smaller company. Not a damn thing. So tell me how a monopoly would form if there's nothing preventing somebody from making a business stealing your monopoly. Monopolies can't form if the market isn't regulated and it's open.
The use of the state to serve the interests of individual capitalists, groups of capitalists, or the capitalist class as a whole, etc. Whatever you do, these things will happen, and this is because these things are natural consequences of capitalism's development.
Government's development! Government's development! The only reason why the rich are as powerful as they are today is because they can lobby the government and write the damn laws. If we had no government to lobby, then this wouldn't be a problem and the freaking rich wouldn't have the power they have today. Stop blaming capitalism for government's problems, you moron!
Many large multinational corporations began as much smaller companies. The so-called free market is not some obstacle to monopoly, but rather a facilitator of monopolies. Every capitalist in any industry attempts to dominate the market. The very system demands they do so. There's no interest in playing fair in order to not crush the competition.
Is that what you want? You want competition to play fair? Oh, I was going to offer great fucking services to my customers at a low cost. But you know what? I want to play fair to my competition, so now I'm going to offer a shitty service at a freaking high cost. Because communists think this is beneficial for some fucking reason. Moron!
It's really weird how the proponents of the free market preach the virtues of free market competition based on what they claim to be the fact that humans are self-seeking entities, yet at the same time they seem to expect stockholders and directors of major corporations to go against their economic self-interests in order to maintain a state of fair competition with their rivals.
So they're going to be unfair to their rivals. They're going to be unfair to the capitalists that they're competing against. Okay, how are they going to be unfair to them? What are they going to do? There's no government that they could lobby. There's no government they can control. There's nobody. They can't do anything. They could be pissed off that there's competition that's destroying them, but that's about it. The only way that they could stop competition from destroying them is to lower their cost and to produce better services. And that's better. That makes it better for everybody else in the society. See, capitalism improves things. Communism, everybody starves to death. Which one do you think is a better system?
Let's come back to reality now. Anyone can do some research into the largest multinational corporations and find out how they started. Many have very humble roots. Capitalism is a mode of production, and like previous modes of production, it evolves over time. It does not disappear one day just because the state passes new regulations or removes old ones. It does not change into some kind of wrong capitalism just because lobbyists bounce favors with politicians. Were that the case, we could say that capitalism never existed at all.
True capitalism never has. We never had a market that's fully unregulated and where people and customers regulate the market themselves with their wallet. For example, let's say there's a restaurant that accidentally made food that's poisonous one day. I don't know. Somehow that happens, okay? And what's going to happen is that word of mouth is going to make them lose business. It's probably going to make them go out of business unless they change. And they don't want to lose money, so they will change. See, there's no government necessary because the people regulate the markets with their wallets. For example, you keep saying that, oh, well, capitalists, all they care about is money. Well, where's the money coming from? The people. They specifically spend money on shit they care about and stuff that's going to better society. So basically what you're saying is all capitalists care about is what the people care about. Because the people aren't going to spend their money on shit that they don't want, right? So basically people are going to spend their money on what they want and the capitalists will provide what people want. You say capitalists are greedy and they only care about money. Well, that's a good thing. So they'll never provide services people don't want because there's no money in it.
The problem isn't crony capitalism or cowboy capitalism, monopoly capitalism, hyper-capitalism, or whatever other prefix people will come up with next week. These conservatives and right-wing libertarians drastically underestimate the extent to which state intervention has been structurally central to capitalism as a historical system since its very beginnings.
Are you really suggesting that because it's old, that's the way it must always be? Well, we used to fucking cure headaches by bashing people's heads open with rocks. I guess that's the way it should always be, right? We should have never made modern medicine. You fucking idiot.
For example, the enclosure of open fields for sheep pasture in late medieval and early modern times, the parliamentary enclosures of common woods, waste and pasture in the 18th century, the colonial enclosure of land in the Third World and eviction of native cultivators, the engrossment of Third World mines and mineral resources, the enslavement of foreign and domestic populations. Nothing remotely resembling the modern concentration of economic power and wealth, or the model of corporate capitalism most people think of as normal nowadays, would ever have been possible without all these forms of state intervention.
Capitalism wasn't capable of doing these things on its own. Therefore, it's capitalism's fault. Fucking what, mate? If capitalism couldn't have done it, then how is it capitalism's fault? Oh my god, I can't even insult you anymore. You're not even worth it.
You can pair capitalism with any prefix, adjective, or noun as you see fit, but the internal contradictions, exploitation, instability, and absurdities don't lie in the words. They are all inherent features of capitalism, plain and simple. Any proposed solution to the inherent problems of capitalism, which essentially boil down to more capitalism, are eventually doomed to failure. I'll leave you with this last note. If these people who claim corporatism are honest and truthful, then let them answer this. Are all the great things we have nowadays given to us by capitalism then, or corporatism?
Okay, imagine you got Kool-Aid and then you got Coke, right? You mix them together. Is it Coke still? No, it's not. Is it Kool-Aid still? No, it's fucking not. The shit we got going on today is a mixture of capitalism and government. It has nothing to do with capitalism by itself. When you take a drink of this cocktail, this Kool-Aid Coke, right? You're liking the Coke. You're liking the capitalism. That's the part that you like. The part that's making you almost throw up is the Kool-Aid inside. What I'm trying to say here is, with corporatism, there are some positive aspects from capitalism that seep through. But overall, it kind of freaking sucks because there's goddamn Kool-Aid in it. The Kool-Aid, the government part of it, kind of ruins it. And the only parts of it that you enjoy are the cool, refreshing taste of Coke, which is the capitalism portion. And I know throughout the video, me and him used the term corporatism, but what we really mean to say is corporatocracy. That's the term that people should be using, but people have been using the wrong term forever, so I decided to use the wrong term too, just to keep it simple. Anyways, I hope that analogy makes sense. Alright guys, this is the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you for watching. If you really like this video, be sure to subscribe. Also, smash that like button and the bell button. If you really want to support the channel, then become a patron on Patreon. Even if you just donate $1 a month, it helps tremendously. Thanks for watching.